Welcome to genXup. I'm your host, Grant Porter. Tonight, we're having a little celebration aboard the motor vessel Tenacity, and the wind's helping us throw a party. It must be blowing 40 knots outside right now. So if you're hearing any background noise that I couldn't get out, just know the dogs are getting blown off chains outside. So with the change of giving up or letting go of Tenacity, a boat that's been in my life for 6.5 years now, I thought it'd be good to talk about the idea of letting go. Um, Life is pretty funny. This last week, I saw that Ridley's, believe it or not, bought the prop from Forrest Gump's movie, The Box of Chocolates, for $25,000. And, that quote really kind of sums up life. Forrest says, "My mom always said life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. It's absolutely priceless." And, that's one thing that is so true. You never know what you're going to get out of life from week to week, month to month, year to year, decade to decade. Recently, I've been tuning into a guy that I paid attention to in college by the name of Alan Watts. He is a British American philosopher, writer, speaker. He was pretty hip and really had a lot of influence on the counterculture of the 60s and 70s. And he has one quote that I think is really appropriate. And it is, "The only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and join the dance." In other words, don't resist, go with it, and enjoy the game of life. Let go. So letting go for me of Tenacity is a big deal. And as I mentioned in one of the earlier podcasts, it's good to celebrate milestones. And it's especially good if you can celebrate with your accountability partners. And I'm going to tell you, you guys are my accountability partners. And for the first time on any of my pods, I'm going to have a drink with you. I think one thing to think about, though, is it's important to realize just how difficult it can be to let things go. The prospects of letting go of something can create a lot of stress, anxiety, and uncertainty in our lives. For me, with the boat, it's not so much, because I feel like I'm moving into another chapter that's super exciting. And I'm really looking forward to the next podcast that I record aboard the sailing vessel, SV Ariel. It's going to be a whole new gig and a whole new experience. But, letting go of things for me has never been as tough as letting go of people that I love. That's one thing that, I don't know about you guys, but whether it's somebody that I lost too early because they passed away, or a relationship that ended, that's the struggle. And I can say that during this process of packing everything up on Tenacity and literally leaving just the podcast gear for the end of it. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see the back of the boat, and maybe behind me the canvas covers flapping like crazy because the wind. Or maybe you're hearing the halyards. I don't know if I'm going to be able to reduce that noise. But if you struggle with letting go of things in your life, it's not uncommon. And I know that the process of doing this has been a little bittersweet for me in some ways. It was July last summer that I had a buyer for the boat, and had all expectations that the sale was going to go through, and I was going to have a little cash to put down on a house with a gal that I'd had a long distance relationship with for 7 years, a little disrupted through COVID, but I was excited to build that life. And when I was out meeting with a mechanic and taking care of stuff, and honestly getting away from the heat of Arizona, it was 118 degrees at that time, and beautiful 70 degrees on the coast, on the ocean. Her demeanor changed, and she shut down. And within days of saying "I love you," it went from "I've got some stuff to think about" to "Our relationship's over. It's run its course. Come get your stuff." Which, of course, I found my stuff packed in boxes and in trash bags. And I didn't see that one coming. I didn't. And it hurt. I, have had other relationships that ended, and I know that I've been bummed out with them. But this particular one, it just was such a blindside, and it never I've never been as affected emotionally by somebody as that. And it's part of the process that I've been working through to let go. And part of this podcast for me is actually to remind myself of these things to focus on, to keep going on to the next chapter of my life and the visions that I have and what brings me authentic, honest happiness. And where I'm going with is this process of letting go of the boat. I had this other vision a year ago how that would go, and it's so dramatically different that it's brought up a lot of emotions again for me. Even though it's been 6.5 months since we said our goodbyes, and November when I closed my journal, at the place we met, literally letting go, but letting go isn't easy with people you love, especially people, like that have passed because they died early. Our grieving process is completely different for each of us. And it's important to remember to feel the big feels and have the emotions. I can't tell you how, you should do it, but I know for me, like it's like waves. There's days that I run the best of reels, the highlight reels of the relationship, or past events. And I think how great. And then there's other days, I kind of check in and acknowledge my feelings of, maybe I wasn't really that happy. And maybe what I'm feeling and thinking is a little not real. So, whatever it is that you need to let go, just know that getting with the dance of life is really what we're trying to do, right? You can't change somebody's decisions or the way they feel. You can only accept them, maybe begrudgingly, and move on and expect that new things are going to happen and there's going to be awesome change, even if you go through the dumps occasionally. Again, for me, like this whole process has turned into another totally different direction of where life's going. And I think something just blew off the boat just now, but should be okay because pretty much everything's off the boat. Uh, so acknowledge your feelings. It's essential to allow yourself to feel the full emotions of losing somebody. Includes the sadness, the anger, the guilt, and even if somebody passed, maybe it was a parent, and you've cared for them for a long time. As Gen Xers, we're at that stage where our parents are aging and you feel a sense of relief, and then you feel guilty because you have that sense of relief that they're gone. But acknowledging your feelings can be a powerful step in healing and finding peace. Also, seek support, from friends, family, therapists, anyone offers a listening ear. But again, don't bum people out. Don't be the Debbie Downer. Is I think there was a YouTube video years ago, Dramamine, but it was like a fun shtick on, like take this pill and there's no drama. Another thing you can do is celebrate the life of somebody. If it's a loss of a relationship, celebrate them. Have a day, have a party, like how great they were and all the awesomeness. And it would be kind of weird if you invited your friends all over to have a memorial celebration. But this Friday, I think, as I shared in one of my earlier podcasts, my college roommate, he died unexpectedly a few weeks ago. Basically drank himself to death because he was bummed out over a lot of things. And we're gonna celebrate him, and I'm sure it's gonna be great to catch up with friends, and it's gonna be sad he's not there. And you know what? He made his own fucking choice. And I think the thing is that if you're in the dumps because you're having a hard time letting go, don't create the reality where people are going to have to celebrate your memorial life. um you know Through this, I think one of the most important things is practicing self-care. I've noticed that as I've gone through the transition of bringing the sailboat up from Marina Del Rey to in Ventura now, uh it's been really tough, and my self-care has waned because I've been so overwhelmed with, going through the sailboat, every cabinet, cubby, the original owner. There was a lot of parts and pieces left on the boat. Looking at everything, is this something I need? Is it something I don't need? Or oh, gross, this thing's really moldy. And this is like a leg splint from when they did their trip up to the Pacific Northwest. That's medical gear that I definitely don't need anymore. Um, I noticed that my self care has not been good. I've been not going to bed as early. I've not been working out. My eating has not been as good. It's just, without the sleep and without self care, I think you also can find yourself getting a little in the funk. So remember to take self care and embrace the change. Like there's no valid plans for the future can be made by those who have no capacity for living in the now. It's another Alan Watts quote. So, you know, if you haven't ever checked out Alan Watts, Google him, go find some of his talks. There's some great ones, man. The guy is hilarious and he's very, very intelligent if you want to get into your Zen place. Another thing to do as far as techniques when you're trying to let go is identify negative or unhelpful thoughts. The first step is reframing our thoughts to become aware of the negative or unhelpful thoughts contributing to our distress. These thoughts include self criticism, pessimism, or catastrophic thinking, like the fucking world's going to end because I've lost this thing. Um, if you identify them, you can then challenge them. You know, if you think that this thing is going to end your life or it's the ruin of you, I've got to give up my house, I got to give up my wife, my husband, my girlfriend, my boyfriend, my boat, whatever it is there an alternate explanation that might be more helpful or accurate? Think about that. And as you go through that, reframe your negative thoughts. As you, if you had a negative thought and you think like, shit, for me this last week, uh, the motor yacht has a lot of space. The sailboat does not. And part of me has been feeling a little bummed out because I'm a liveaboard and I've enjoyed the luxury of stowage of personal items. And I've also thought about as I take, my vision quest in 3 years to travel in faraway places, like where the hell is everything going to go? Where's the food going to go? Like it's got a giant freezer and fridge, but there's less space. And, I definitely get into the negative thoughts of like, man, what did I do? Did I screw up here? But then at the same time, I think about the freedom and flexibility. I challenge them. I say, like this boat can do more than just go across 20 miles. It can go 2,000 miles. It can circumnavigate the globe. You'll figure out where to store your shit. So that's reframing them. Practice self-compassion. It's an important process of reframing our thoughts with self-compassion and understanding. This means being kind to ourselves, accepting our feelings and experiences, and acknowledging that change takes time and effort. So, as you're going through the process of letting anything go, know that it's not going to be easy right away, and that given time and effort, you're diligently working on your shit and you're clearing your decks and you're getting ready for your 3-year vision. You're going to be in 6 months, 12 months, whatever the time frame is for you of letting something go that's been really heavy on your head and heart, in your mind and your heart, it will change. There will be new adventures, new things, and practice this regularly. Every day, get up, journal, spend half an hour writing your thoughts down, putting a pen to paper. Or for me, I do Google Docs. I think since I've gone through my personal development journey, I'm up to 200 pages of journal entries and I just jam them out every morning. I start with the date, I do my body weight, how much I slept, and then I talk about what I'm feeling and thinking. And it's really interesting to go back, when I'm feeling a little melancholy or I'm feeling really happy, to read some of the different journal entries of past dates as I've gone through this personal development process. You know, Letting go is something we all have to do at some point. Life is that. It's a constant, birth, death reality. And that's true for relationships. That's true for possessions. You have them for a season and then you don't. That's just life. So the real secret is being engaged in what you're doing right here, right now. So take an inventory right now, look around, look at your environment. For me, like I said, it's blowing fucking dogs off chains right now outside, and another big series of storms are rolling down the coast. And it's all good. I'm warm and toasty, and I'm talking to you. And we're celebrating tonight, the very last night on Tenacity, the last podcast. a 7-year run. And cheers to us. Right on. All right. So if you like genXup, please visit our website at genxup.com. And if you're feeling, somewhat celebratory, hit subscribe, hit comment, trying to boost this channel up. This last week, I missed my weekly pod because of the transition of doing the boats, and I'm going to do my best to be diligent and continue on. But I would love feedback. I'd like to get to know you. And until then, have a great night. Take care.